arm behind us.
All right, so the front line, your front line here. Um, Actually, I'll get my little drawing tool out. Your team is about here right now, and your front line is kind of just in front of the cart. You don't really want to be pushing up too much in front of it yet. You're not quite in danger here, but for the moment, let your tanks control where your positioning is for a minute. All right. Okay, good. And where I want to see you go next is high ground here. You can get up. Let's see what you did. All right, so this is good. Great nade spot. Where I'm hoping you'll go is to the left. So there's this pillar here. You can use that for cover, shoot your team, and be mostly covered up. If you get pushed by somebody that comes up the ramp, then you can jump down to your team. There's a lot of things you can do, but being there in the first place is good. All right. Now I think your desire to hit that nade and well, watch this. You put a lot of focus on this event here, and I think because you've put so much focus on there, you fall down. I don't know if you intend to fall down, or if because you desire so much to land this nade that you fall down and to increase your efforts. You know, like the desire pulls you down, or if you just simply are going to jump down either way. But I would have stayed high ground there. And by the way, I brought up all those different reasons why, because there's several different reasons why people get out of good positioning, and sometimes the reason for that is their desire, like they want so badly to be effective in a certain way, and they're struggling to want to do that, and all their desire is on it, and suddenly they find themselves just kind of jumping out of the position just because they're trying to be a bit more effective, and then all of a sudden their body carries through what they're willing to do, and they're outside of that position. I'll expand upon that because I can. I'll expand upon it later because there's different things you'll see, different examples of that. All right. So I'm glad you got that sleep off. But another thing you want to think about with like Ana or McCree or even Soldier, and other ranged DPS and healers is you don't want to be on the point. Um, you are going to be more effective if you're away from the point. You have your your kit to save you, I guess. I'll speak about Ana specifically here. She has her sleep dart. She has her anti nade, um, but she doesn't have a lot of other ways to help herself out, and she's a high value target with low mobility. So that means she's easier to push and take advantage of, and people should be focusing her. So you want to be off the point as much as possible and away from the main action. You don't want you don't want Ana to be the first thing that the enemy team sees when they come back to the point, because they, especially when you're about to cap a point, or like you're pushing a payloader here, right? So it's near the objective. The enemy team is going to have to really fight the objective in order to be successful here. You don't want to be where they need to be, because they can kill two birds in one stone. They can kill you and be on the point. But if you're much further back, in a safer position, then you make them choose between what they're trying to do. Um, so I've watched this ahead of time. All right, and using that nade there is not that great. I won't go. I said that I wasn't going to go into other things besides positioning, but I'll say that right now because I already got into it. All right, because this guy hooks you. So if you had your nade, you'd be safe for a second because you're 50 health. You can nade him, heal yourself, and get out. But you wouldn't be hooked here in the first place if you weren't on the point. You're also, because you are so close to the action, like we'll step back. and look at this. You're looking here. You have no vision of the other side, and that's another problem with being so close to what's going on with Ana. You lack information of what's happening everywhere else. So that's how you got hooked too. Being further back, like a location way back there, that allows you to see at all the different angles that the enemy's coming in for the most part. It allows you to heal your team up. It makes it more difficult for you to be hit. So you would have the information that you lack here in a second. All right. You got Reinhardt hitting you and stuff here. So you can still shoot these people for the most part without being on point. You don't have to be there. All right, move forward a bit here. By the way, you see that this person's aim's not bad. And by the way, I'm glad that Reinhardt uses Shatter there, because that was a lost fight anyways. He shouldn't have used it. So I won't talk about the positioning there. It really doesn't. It's not a focus, but that's the best outcome. All right, that's the last fight. So positioning here is get the hell out, run, get behind your Zarya, get out of that tunnel, regroup, get back to your team. You don't want to get staggered here. It's to their advantage if you do, because your main heals. All right, so for here, I would have scoped, maybe done a quick scope shot on your Reinhardt, because he was getting so much focus, and I start healing him up. But the positioning's fine. Jeez, it's so hard not to talk about other things. I recommit myself to talk about positioning here.
Charge him, charge him.
So I'm okay with you being where you're at right now, because you may as well try to get some alt charge. And the cart doesn't really move all that fast to begin with in this, after you just open the doors up. So you got a second where nothing's really going on. So being in this positioning and trying to do something more with it is good. Although I would avoid jumping up here. So anytime you're in the air, you kind of more in a fixed movement. So you probably saw this fire strike, but because you're in the air, you can't really avoid it. And if you are going to take some aggressive positioning to to get some alt charge. Hug corners. Like, or play with the objects around you, line of sight. Like, you got these boxes and crap here. So the enemy's going to be peeking around here. We'll make them pink. They're coming around this way, right? Well, hold on. All right, so they're coming around this way, and they're going to be looking around the corner soon. So you just show enough of your body to shoot them, and then if they start shooting at you and pushing you, you can kind of kite backwards. Oops. You can be coming this way as they're coming around the corner. So as they advance, you move backwards while still shooting into them, and they keep on having to, you know, because they're going to need to come around the corner to wherever they want to position themselves anyways. So they'll continuously be advancing into your line of sight while you're continuously kiting out of theirs. You can be doing damage while still remaining mostly safe. All right. So there's no reason to be like way the hell out there to do that. You're lucky you got healed there.
Roger, top right. Got mail. Roger, behind, top. Yeah, that was my bad, I shouldn't have used it.
All right, here, you don't need to be in front of the cart. I'd be using the cart for cover right now. So you're too much out in the open. You don't want to make your life needlessly difficult by just taking spam damage whenever possible. Because look at, there's nothing blocking you. We'll take a look at, you know, here's the angle available for the enemy to shoot you. It's like anywhere in here. Here, actually I won't say anything for this. Alright, you're way out in front here. Like, look at who's on your screen. You got all these people on your screen, and probably more coming around the corner that can see you. There's nobody protecting you at all. You're frontlining. You get punished slightly for it. Not all the way, but... And for there, I would have probably just healed the Reinhardt. You weren't that low on damage. I don't know if he's savable or not, but you can at least try. Alright. Something you can do on this point, especially if you get a nice team wipe, like if your team kills most of the other team and they're not really a threat anymore, and you got a few seconds to respawn, then you can go top left. You can either go start out there kind of, and then if you get pushed you can drop down. So I'm talking about like in this first area, or you can go over here on top of the tractor trailer truck, whatever that storage area is called, far left, because there's a mega over there. If you get pushed, you can drop down to your team. You're gonna have, when you have this high ground, you're gonna have better line of sight for healing your team, for shooting their team, for throwing nades both onto your team or their team, because you can throw it over shields, and it's easier to throw a nade down onto who you're trying to hit than it is to like lob it and have it come down. It's just better all positioning for what you're trying to do with her. And also, like if you're on that high grounds, you have a bit of a safety. You're a little bit safer for trying to stay away from the enemy.
Almost got ult, almost got ult. Soldier behind.
All right.
Behind. Soldiers behind us. I'm dead.
So for that, you're trying to kill two birds with one stone. You're trying to do several things at once. You're trying to heal yourself while hitting the Reinhardt with an anti and healing up your Zarya. So there's a lot of value to that one nade in a way, but at the same time, you know the soldier's there and you're walking into line of sight to take damage from the soldier. I don't know if that's the wisest choice to be walking all the way out here to get a nade. We're going to be taking damage to do that. You could just throw the nade without getting up close to everybody. Because look at now you're already down the same amount of. You lost all that health, and then he pushes you. So that's positioning out of desire again. You want to make this play. You want to be sure to be successful, and you know that it's nice to kind of heal yourself up because you're a little bit low. But think about what's around you, and if you're really going to get the value out of it that you want by pushing up there.
Soldiers behind us.
All right, we're moving forward.
Okay. A lot of them are nano. Not nano, sorry.
So here, I wouldn't be going to cart so much. I'd probably stay back here. Like, I'd probably go over here by the truck for a little bit. So I'd hang out on low ground at first here, in case anyone needs to heal you. Needs heals. And I'd play around the the cover of this truck while healing up the front line. If it looks like you have some time, I might go up to where this guy is standing in that area. I might go around and try to get there. If you feel like your team will live long enough for you to take that position.
A lot of them are nano. Not nano, sorry, nano.
But this is too far up.
Robots up.
Or you don't need to be there. Alright. And see, you're on point again. This guy gets a free shot at you. I know you don't know he's there. And so in a way, it's not quite your fault but at the same time, if you just follow that simple rule of not being on cart, you don't open yourself up for like weird positioned enemies. I'm so okay with that nade and pushing forward to do it because you are like 0 health, and for a second, like you might have the opportunity to somehow push this through. And I don't think that you're like the health. I think at that time was more important than anything. I don't know. Where I'm about to go with this, I don't think that you're in a major threat by those two people on cart. Like you could land that and then you could land that anti and then go back to the left and stay behind the cart, and then while breaking line of sight with that hog and other things, slowly pull backwards because they're contesting the cart. You being on cart does nothing, and so I would try to distance yourself from the cart so that you can at least keep your tank on the front being healed up.
Almost got up.
See, like you take that spam damage for no reason,
Sorry.
and then you die. So if you weren't on the cart, you could at least heal up your Zarya for a little bit longer, and maybe you could ult something.
McCree, you've got to go on point.
All right. By the way, McCree needs to be where he's positioned. You don't want him on point. That's bad. For the same reason why you don't want to be on point, because as your DPS, you need to get your picks. You need to not be focused. You need your tanks to take the attention and contest the cart, and give your DPS a little bit more chance to get some damage in without being focused, because they're squishy. You know, how long are they going to live? And with less pressure on them, they're more likely to pop off.
Nice. Nice.
All right, so you're on cart again. Leave the cart, but you push forward for some reason into the middle of the team to get an anti. That's ballsy as hell.
I'm dead.
But you're still on the cart. You know, everybody else is almost killed. Well, you get killed anyways because of your positioning, and the Hog has one chance to screw somebody over. He screws you over because that's a good choice.
Messi, don't try and.
You put yourself on a platter for him. And yeah, she doesn't have res because she just resed you from when you were on the cart before and died. So you did the same mistake twice so fast that she couldn't even get her res back to help you, even if she wanted to. I like the Mercy's voice there. She doesn't say anything mean, but you can hear it in her voice. Like she's like, Or I would just want to take the time to talk about a concept, or the way I look at Overwatch, and how that can be applied to many things, but that includes positioning. So I like to look at Overwatch as a series of problem solving. Both teams are creating problems for the other team to solve, and that means one team needs hopefully better problem solving skills. The team that presents the best problems has the best chance of winning. And of course, if the other team is just significantly better at problem solving and being effective problem solvers, then of course they could win too. Even if they're not as good as problem creators. So, for instance, if you have a DPS that's just really good, they might not have the best positioning sometimes, or some know the game as well, but they're killing the enemy and solving the problem of whatever the enemy is doing so well that their team wins. You know, the DPS, that's awesome. Their team wins. I mean to say. So, anyways, let's apply that to positioning, and how to win at Overwatch via problem creating. So if you make it so that your positioning is so good that the enemy has a hard time getting to you, and that they have to use their resources to get to you, and that you can still get away possibly, and you have a good positioning such that you can do damage to them and land your abilities better, etc. That's good. That's a good way to create problems for the enemy team, because, you know, like for instance, if you're looking, when you thought about times that that player was on point when it was almost on, when the payload was being pushed to objective, and that the enemy team had the chance to focus them and be on point, you know, that's a simple problem for them to solve. But, you know, as I explained, taking them off of point, having high ground positioning, and being a high priority target is creating a more complex problem for the enemy to solve, because that means the enemy would have to choose between killing this high priority target that's healing everybody, but they also need to be on point and kill the people on the point, so they want to focus there. That makes their life a lot harder, or at least makes it a lot more complex. It's a more complex problem for them to solve. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. And I guess you could also look at it as a mini game. like when you play Ana or you play McCree or you play certain characters that have low mobility but have high potential to do other things. So low mobility is part of their kit. I mean, part of their character, built into their character, because Overwatch doesn't want them to be too powerful. They're strong as they are, and having low mobility gives them a weakness which allows them to be defeated maybe. So there's a trade-off. So you got to play the positioning mini game, as I like to think about it. So meaning you're adding this extra bit of complexity into how you're playing the game, and make it so that the enemy has to solve your positioning mini game to get to you. Now that's just a different way to say what I've already just said, but for some people that might stick in their mind a little better. So I don't think I need to do a summary of everything I said in regards to different things, because I said it so many times. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. You can call me Coach Nate if you want, or Ghost or Phoenix, and we can talk more about anything. And then I'll try to release some more videos going over other things that I see in, like, maybe Gold and below, that because I do a lot of VOD reviews and coaching, and there's some trends I pick up on, so I'll try to release some other videos and find some examples for you guys. Thanks for listening.